Hey there, folks. I never thought I'd be sharing my story online, but I really need to get this off my chest. Call me Sarah. I'm just an average young woman who recently moved into a new apartment. Things started off normal, but then they took a nightmarish turn. So, I moved into this clean and cozy apartment, and I was excited to make it my own. I decorated my room in a minimalist style. You know, those soothing pastel colors, some potted plants, and just a few framed photos. It looked perfect, but little did I know that my cozy room would turn into a house of horrors. From day one, I felt like someone was watching me. I'd be alone in my apartment, and yet I couldn't shake this eerie feeling. At first, I brushed it off as my overactive imagination playing tricks on me. I even tried meditating to calm my nerves, but the unease persisted. Nights were the worst. Every time I woke up, I felt uncomfortable. It's like someone's eyes were boring into me. I couldn't see anything, but the sense of being watched never left me. This went on for weeks, and it began taking a toll on my health. I'd feel tired every day, no matter how much I slept. Desperate for answers, I decided to install some CCTV cameras in my room. I wanted to catch whatever it was that had been tormenting me. I watched the footage, and what I saw sent shivers down my spine. There was a man who had been secretly living in my room the entire time. When I slept, he would sneak in and bring sleeping pills to make me sniff them. It explained my constant fatigue. But what was even more terrifying was what he did to me when I was unconscious. I couldn't believe my eyes as I watched the footage. He'd touch me, violate me, and do unspeakable things. I was paralyzed with fear as I watched those horrifying videos. My room, the one place that was supposed to be my safe haven, had become a prison of nightmares. I knew I had to escape this living nightmare. One night, I mustered the courage to run out of my room, leaving my apartment behind. I immediately called the police to report the intruder. They arrived in a hurry, and with their help, we searched my room. What they found still haunts me. The man was hiding in my closet, waiting for me to come back. The police arrested him, and as they were taking him away, he turned to me and said something that sent shivers down my spine. He'd been secretly in my closet, proposing to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like something out of a horror movie. I was in shock, and I couldn't comprehend how someone could invade my life so brutally and still have such twisted feelings for me. Now, I'm in therapy, trying to heal from this traumatic experience. I can't look at my room the same way anymore. It's a chilling reminder of the horrors that unfolded within its walls. So, please, be careful out there. Trust your instincts. And if you ever feel like you're being watched, take action. Don't be like me, who had to go through such a terrifying ordeal to realize the danger lurking in the shadows. My story began with a key turning in the lock of apartment 4B, a space that would soon become my sanctuary. It was a modest one-bedroom abode, and I was determined to turn it into a place that exuded the serenity and minimalism I craved. I started with a blank canvas, filling the space with carefully chosen furniture and decor, creating a sanctuary of simplicity and style. It wasn't long before I crossed paths with the owner of the apartment building, a man named Mr. Charming. His nickname was well-deserved. He was both handsome and personable, the kind of person who could put you at ease with a simple smile. As we exchanged pleasantries during my initial move-in, I couldn't help but feel a flutter of attraction deep within me. Our interactions grew more frequent, and a connection blossomed between us. In time, that connection evolved into a secret affair, a thrilling and forbidden liaison that unfolded behind closed doors. As our relationship deepened, so did my infatuation, clouding my judgment and leading me down a treacherous path. 2 months into my stay, a single incident would shatter the illusion of my idyllic life. It was an evening like any other when I reached over to adjust a lamp, only to fumble and accidentally drop it. The lamp crashed to the floor, and as I bent down to retrieve it, my eyes widened in shock. Hidden behind the toppled lamp was a tiny lens, part of a hidden camera. My heart raced as I stared at the ominous device, its lens piercing the silence of my otherwise peaceful room. A sudden realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. I was not alone in my own private sanctuary. Someone had been watching my every move. The initial shock gave way to a deep sense of dread, and I began a frantic search of my apartment. My worst fears were confirmed as I discovered more hidden cameras in every corner of my life, each one capturing my most intimate moments. They lurked in my bedroom, my bathroom, my dressing room, and even my bed, turning my own home into a nightmarish surveillance chamber. A chill ran down my spine as I realized that my privacy had been violated, and my life had been laid bare for the eyes of a voyeur. I knew I had to act quickly to put an end to this nightmare that had infiltrated my life. Without hesitation, I picked up my phone and dialed the emergency number. The police arrived promptly, and an investigation was swiftly launched. As the truth began to unravel, the horror of my situation deepened. The mastermind behind this invasion of my privacy was none other than the apartment owner himself, the charming and seemingly kind Mr. Charming. An examination of his computer revealed a sinister cache of thousands of secretly recorded clips, each one a stolen moment from my life. It was a grotesque betrayal that I could scarcely comprehend, as the person I had been entangled with had not only invaded my privacy, but also sold my most personal moments on the darkest corners of the internet. As time passed, the ordeal took on a new and terrifying dimension. Despite the arrest and imprisonment of the man who had violated my life, my clips continued to circulate on the internet, a never-ending nightmare that haunted my every moment. My most intimate memories had been forever etched into the digital realm, a chilling reminder of the horrors that the digital age could unleash. My story is a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that even the most charming and kind individuals can conceal the darkest secrets. In an era where privacy is a fragile commodity, my experience serves as a stark warning to all. Be vigilant, guard your privacy, and trust carefully. The digital age has ushered in a new era of dangers, where the shadows hold eyes that should never have access to your most personal moments. My story is a plea to protect your privacy at all costs, lest you, too, become a victim of the sinister forces that lurk in the digital shadows. I just moved into this new room in the city, you know? It's a tiny place, but that's all I could afford. And let me tell you, the neighborhood ain't exactly the safest spot. I came here from the provinces to try and make a living in the capital. It's been tough, real tough, but I was hanging in there. So every evening, There's this group of guys who gather round in the rooms nearby, drinking their problems away. I've seen them a few times when I was coming back to my place. They didn't look like the kind of guys you'd want to mess with. I just kept my head down and tried to avoid them. I'd been living in that apartment for a few months now. Over time, you start recognizing faces. Those guys weren't exactly friendly, but they weren't causing trouble for anyone else, so I didn't think much of it. Until one evening, when things took a turn for the worse. I was heading back to my room, and I had to pass by that group of men. One of them, he called out to me, inviting me to join him for a drink. I politely declined, told him I had to get going. But they weren't taking no for an answer. They started walking behind me, just to find out where I was headed. Thankfully, just as I was starting to panic, another man appeared out of nowhere. He offered to walk me to my room, said he'd make sure I got back safely. I was relieved and grateful, so I accepted his offer. But when we got to my room, something terrible happened. The guy I thought was helping me, he suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed me right in the stomach. I was in shock, pain searing through my body. I couldn't move or fight back. He dragged me into the room, and my worst nightmare began. He raped me, and then things took an even darker turn. He called out to the other drunk men from that group, and they all started piling into my tiny room like a bunch of animals. It turned out that the man who'd stabbed me was the same one who'd invited me for a drink. I was crying out for help, screaming at the top of my lungs, but there was no sign of anyone coming to my rescue. It was like the walls of the room were closing in on me, and I felt utterly helpless. The pain, the fear, the sheer hopelessness, it was unbearable. I knew I had to get out of there. I was hurting so bad, and I couldn't take it any longer. After they were done with me, I managed to crawl to a corner of the room. It was then that I decided I couldn't let them have the satisfaction of breaking me completely. With the last bit of strength I had left, I ended it all, right there in that tiny room. I'll spare you the details of how, but I hope you can understand the despair I felt in those moments. My life was never the same after that night, and it's a dark memory that haunts me to this day. I share this story not for sympathy, but to let others know that danger can be lurking in the most unexpected places. Be careful out there, and never let your guard down, no matter how familiar or safe things may seem. It's a cruel world, and we all have to watch out for ourselves.